buying liquidation for resale has been given a bad rap lately, and I want to talk to you about that on the other side of the break. Don't buy any liquidation until you watch this. So without any further ado, let's go. Welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin Ain't Easy. For those of you who've never watched my video, I'm a full-time reseller, and I make these videos to try to bring to light some topics to help you to start a discussion. Put your comments down below if this maybe hits a nerve or gives you some ideas, or you can contribute to the conversation. Before I begin, do me a favor, hit the like button if you like this type of content, and I would so appreciate it if you there's like 70% of the people that watch this video don't even subscribe. So if you could subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate that. And if you're subscribed, thank you, and hit that bell icon so that you can be notified when I go live or make another video. So liquidation, as you guys probably know, it's the primary way that I source, and I don't do the yard sale thing. I don't do the thrift store thing. And really for me, I'm on this mission of searching for the right connection, networking and finding the right supplier. I deal with about 2 or 3 different suppliers for liquidation, and that's my challenge. But I can tell you this, that I've been dealing with liquidation for the last over 2 years now, and I have bought literally over 100 pallets. I can tell you, I've been reading a lot of things like on Reddit and things where people are saying that only the big time YouTubers get the good pallets, everyone else gets the trash. And I got to tell you, that's not true at all. And if you subscribe to that thought, it's probably because you've been burned on a pallet, and it's probably due to the fact that you didn't do your due diligence before you bought that pallet. And so this video is sort of trying to dispel that thought or that mindset. There's a lot of good pallets out there, but there's a lot of trash pallets out there as well. You need to really focus on what it is you're buying before you take that step, make the commitment to buy something, and then you find out you end up disappointed because it didn't meet your expectations. So the thing with liquidation, the number one thing about liquidation, 90% of it, or about 80% of it, is customer returns. And what that means is this, is that someone bought an item, and within that return period, whether it be Walmart or Amazon or whatever it may be, whether it's a 30-day return period, a 45-day return period, they return something because either A, there was a problem with the merchandise, and at the very best case scenario, they just changed their mind. And you're going to receive anything in from used all the way to brand new. Sometimes you're going to receive a lot of stuff that's nowhere near brand new, and it's going to be open box. Sometimes it's going to be where they just swap it out, and you see that a lot on Amazon pallets. That doesn't mean that buying pallets is a bad thing. You just have to be very careful and carefully select the sources that work for you. I'll give you an example. I go onto liquidation.com every so often, and I have already narrowed it down to a couple sellers. For those of you who are not familiar with liquidation.com, and by the way, they don't endorse this channel, and certainly they don't pay me to talk about this, but I'm just giving you my honest assessment. It's probably the safest way to start when you're selling for the first time. But I have already established where there's a couple sellers on there that sell their pallets on this site that I try to buy from because I've had good experiences with them. And your first so many pallets, when you're just getting into this game of reselling, your first few pallets probably aren't going to be too great because you really don't have that experience. You don't know what to look for. And so what I'm here to sort of tell you is whether you're buying a pallet that's manifested, which basically has a list of everything that's in the pallet, or buying one that's unmanifested, which you basically have to look at the pallet and just to get an idea, maybe you're looking at the photos online, or maybe you're actually at a facility where they have pallets and you're kind of inspecting these things. You need to do your due diligence, either using the manifest or using the photo, to find out exactly what you're selling, or in this case, what you're going to be buying to resell, and see if the comps, whether you're selling on Amazon or eBay, see if the comps are going to make you money. I continue to come across people who continually bid more than 50% of MSRP, and it just makes me scratch my head, because what happens is the general rule with liquidation, customer return liquidation, is if you have a $100 MSRP item, even if it's open box in new condition, you're only going to get around half of that value. Now there's some exceptions to it. The bigger the brand name, the more demand that item has, the more you're going to get closer to that $100 MSRP. But generally, you're not going to get more than the MSRP. There's exceptions to the rule, and I've actually come across some things in a few pallets this year that I was able to make more money than the actual MSRP, but it's very rare. So you actually have to do your homework, and you really need to sit down and spend time on a particular lot. Let's say a lot catches your eye. You really need to take a look at the contents of that lot and use my 40/40 model. I'll put that video right up here for those of you on mobile, and you'll be able to get an idea of how I figure out if a lot is going to be profitable. And you can use it for pallets, you can use it for lots, let's say a smaller lot. You can even use that formula for a single item. But guys, you can't spend too much for a pallet. See, the problem that I've read also is that people are buying these pallets and they can't make their money back because they're probably spending too much money on the pallets. And it's because they see what an item's selling for brand new. They try to equate their customer return pallet as brand new, and generally you're going to get a lot of items that are in used condition. Generally, you're not going to get the item in the condition you're hoping for. It just, more often than not, you're going to get open boxed, and hopefully there's not a problem with it. And generally speaking, if you're buying these customer return pallets, 75% of the merchandise is going to be perfectly fine. The other 20 to 25% is going to have problems. So in that case, you're going to want to part it out. Check to see if maybe if I take this part from this item, if it's selling on eBay, and if not, list it anyway. Put a fair price for it. Maybe someone will need that accessory for the item that they currently have. And I ended up with a pallet of stuff that looked to be salvaged, and you guys may have actually heard me talk about that a couple weeks ago. And I parted a lot of it out, and I can tell you most of it's already moved, and I'm moving on to the next pallet. I made probably a little bit on that pallet, not as much as I wanted to, and you're going to be disappointed in this business. I was disappointed in it, but you can't let that stop you from sourcing. It's no different than if you go to a yard sale, buy an item, it plugs in, it lights up, but when you get it home to fully test it, a feature here and a feature there may not work. And what are you going to do? You're going to be disappointed. You can't go back to the yard sale and get your money back. So it's sort of the same, along the same lines. And I know a lot of you out there, you sort of shy away from electronics or anything like that for that very reason. But you can buy an outfit or clothing at, say, a thrift store or a yard sale, and maybe overlook maybe a flaw in the item. Maybe you didn't notice something was wrong with it, and you're going to be disappointed just as equally. And it's really going to, kind of bother you for a minute, but you shouldn't allow that to stop you from sourcing the way that you normally do. It's funny, I had a conversation with a reselling friend, and it's one of those things where we tend to remember the times where we fail or things don't work out the way we had hoped, but and then we sort of write it off as, oh, this is no good, or in this case, liquidation is not at all the way to go. But we fail to remember the positive transactions a lot of times, or when we expect it to go a certain way and it does, or sometimes it even does better than that. I think we fail to give that credit to those moments when that happens, and we sort of write off things a little too soon. Sourcing with liquidation is a very good way to make a living and make sales on eBay, but you got to know what you're doing. You cannot overspend for these things. You have to do your homework and make sure that the items that you're getting in this pallet are going to sell. That's why I don't endorse sites like Bulk. I don't endorse sites like that, because they're not in it for the reseller. They're in it to move the stuff that they can't list on their own. When they cherry pick stuff out of their lots and you get stuff that's really secondary stuff, you don't get any home runs in those pallets. You got to shy away from sites like that, because you're not going to succeed on eBay when you buy lots from Bulk or similar sites. Make sure, maybe take a test buy on a lot, and don't spend a whole lot of money, but see what kind of product that you get if it's unmanifested. Now, if it's manifested, you should be looking at that manifest and steer clear of anything or any seller that's trying to just dump off secondary items, or you don't see anything that's going to make you $30, $40, $50 at a time. They're out there. You just have to do your due diligence, and you have to stay away from sites like bulk.com. I did a test buy, and I'm going to be sharing that on a video next week. I went out and bought a mystery box, and it's not labeled as a mystery box. All it was on a pallet. There was a large closed sealed box. I have no idea as the contents of this box. I know that the estimated MSRP was about $2,000, and the seller has been known lately to have undervalued their MSRPs quite a bit. And I spent about $350, $400 on this box, and I'm going to put this sort of an unboxing for you guys next week. I thought it'd be fun to kind of show you what kind of items that I source for, but also I'm taking a risk, but I'm sort of taking a calculated risk because I've dealt with this particular seller many times. I haven't had very bad lots. I've always made money off of these lots that I've bought from this seller. So I figure it'll be sort of a cool little thing I can put on video for you guys, and hopefully I find some good stuff in there. So stay tuned with that. But again, I have a lot of experience with liquidation. I certainly would be glad to answer any questions you guys might have. Please put your comments down below. Tell me why you do not source liquidation. Is it because maybe you just haven't thought of doing that? Is it because you've been burned and you just don't want to go back and get burned again? I can certainly understand that, but with new things, you're going to learn, and sometimes you're going to take those growing pains as you do new things and learn what to do and what not to do. And I just think that a lot of times people write stuff off a little too soon. And so put that down below. Let me know why you like to source for liquidation, and tell me why you don't or wouldn't consider sourcing liquidation for your eBay business. So guys, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. I don't care how you choose to source, but just if you're dealing with liquidation, don't give up on it. It's a very good way to source, but whether you source with liquidation, go to a yard sale, or go to a thrift store, just know that flipping ain't easy, and I want you guys to have an excellent weekend, and we will see you guys next week. Take care, everyone.